As a young kid, my dad and I had a small tradition. Every Friday, when he came to pick me up from elementary school, we would stop at our gas station on the way home. There, we would get a snack and a slushie to celebrate another weekend. Because I was a picky fifth grader, my snack of choice would always be a plain Hershey's chocolate bar. Though it might not seem like much, this simple candy made my days in grade school that much more fun. Milton Hershey had affected my life more than 50 years after his death, and after some investigating, he did so much more, not only for his family, but for his employees, his company, and many young boys and girls. Hershey started his chocolate company after a successful caramel company, despite leaving school at the age of 15. He then went on to dedicate and found a town for his employees, which is now known today as Hershey, Pennsylvania. Shortly thereafter, he began what he considered to be maybe his greatest project of all time. Hershey started a school for young orphaned boys, and later, girls, to receive an education that he had missed out on. Hershey changed many lives for the better, and always had a quality over quantity outlook on both his life and his business, which is what he claimed brought him such immense happiness and success. But Hershey alone could not attain 100% of this success. In order to achieve his goals, he would need some help along the way. Hershey was shown copious bouts of grace over his many business ventures. Multiple family members and friends gifted him with loans to start a caramel company over the span of 12 years. Though, try as he might, Hershey's companies always seemed to fail within the span of a couple months, much to the dismay of his family. It wasn't until a run-in with a former employee, Henry Lebkitcher, did Hershey's life change for the better. Lebkitcher gifted Hershey with a loan to once again try and start a caramel company. However, this time, Hershey was successful, and his caramel company is still known today as Lancaster Caramel. Hershey determined from this point on that he would attempt to show all of his employees unfailing loyalty. And he did exactly that. When he decided to sell Lancaster Caramel to start Hershey Chocolate Company, he supported every single one of his employees, but in a very peculiar way. A small town was a gift to his employees. Officially founded as Hershey, Pennsylvania in 1905, every employee was gifted with a house that included modern furnishing and electrical and sewage systems. Built alongside this housing would also be department stores, schools, churches, a hospital, an amusement park, a trolley system, and so much more, all built with his employees' families in mind. Shortly after, this 35-acre plot of land began to grow, alongside the revenue for Hershey Chocolate Company. The revenue skyrocketed from $600,000 to $20 million in the span of 15 years. Hershey attributed this growth to the high morale and dedication of his workers. But this was not the only extent of his generosity. Although disaster would strike about 14 years later, Hershey was determined to keep his company and his employees afloat, even if that came at the expense of his own livelihood. During the start of the Great Depression in 1929, work was sought after, and the relatively new emergence of assembly line and machines only made finding work that much harder. Many businesses and companies were starting to advance at this point, and Hershey Chocolate Company was no exception. Hershey's high-tech factory could wrap their chocolate bars and signature chocolate kisses without the need for human hands. This not only made his chocolate cheaper, but also lessened the tedious workload on his beloved employees. However, Hershey realized that with the stock market crash, his beloved employees would soon be out of work. What family could afford the luxury of chocolate when very few could afford to put bread on the table? Although they were facing some grim odds, Hershey was determined to help his employees. He went through his factory and found any machine that would take the place of a team of men. He then deemed it obsolete and it was thrown out. He then resorted to hand mixing and hand wrapping chocolates. This kept his employees busy. As a last-ditch effort, he even determined to start building new attractions for his town. During this time, a high school and a hotel was built. Rumor has it that a supervisor during this construction started to brag to Hershey about how his amazing steam shovel could supply the work of 40 men. Hershey simply responded, "Get rid of the steam shovel, and instead, hire 40 men." Through his actions, Hershey was able to keep his company alive and his employees busy throughout the entirety of the Great Depression. But Hershey wasn't done yet. He had one last trick up his sleeve. Although not a business venture, this project would change the lives of many. Hershey Industrial School was officially founded in 1909. Hershey and his wife Catherine were unfortunately unable to have children. Hershey opened the school to many orphaned boys to help take care of and to, quote, give them an education that I wish I could have received. Hershey had left school around the age of 15 to start his many apprenticeships and companies, and realized that his many gifts of money he considered to be luck, and he knew that not every child would have access to such a luxury. He then decided that he would try to show any child he could this luxury. Near the end of his life, Hershey opened the school to children of all ages and genders to help give them a second chance at life and to achieve success. Today, this school stands as Milton Hershey School, and they have job offerings such as faculty and staff, live-in parents, bus drivers, and extracurricular teachers and coaches. The school is open to many lower-income boys and girls who wish to enroll, anywhere between the ages of pre-K all through high school. Their curriculum indulges in life lessons, character and religious programs, and, quote, top-notch education. The school proudly states that, quote, 10,000 lives have been changed thanks to Milton and Catherine Hershey. Milton Hershey was a man with simple beliefs to try and help the people around him. Quote, give them quality. That's the best kind of advertisement. Hershey lived and breathed by this quote. Simple philosophies such as be kind, be honest, help those around you, were what Hershey based his entire livelihood around. These simple words to live by, though often recited, are seemingly forgotten in today's world, especially by big companies and businesses. Though by following these guidelines that Hershey had set for himself, Hershey not only paved the way for a long-lasting company, but also a school that will help more lives than I'm sure he ever thought imaginable. Hershey transformed the chocolate industry, giving all a chance to indulge in what was once a luxury good to now a children's treat. And so, on behalf of children who were orphaned in the early 1900s, to his employees, to children today wanting a chocolatey after-school snack, I would like to say thank you, Mr. Milton Hershey.